So tonight we have Debbie Moma, CEO of Twinstate Technologies, and as many of you know, that's a local company that we do business with. And two members of her team, Alyssa Moma and Audra Luck Squire. So they are here to discuss cyber safety with us. I didn't want to use the word cybersecurity, so we went with cyber safety. And it's probably because we've all increased our technology use this year that it's becoming more of a conversation that we want to have. We're all on there doing shopping or video conferencing or even remotely working. But with that means that we're probably more vulnerable to some of the bad ducks out there. So Debbie, Alyssa, and Audra are here to provide some tips on how we can try to stay safe and maybe some things that we can even watch out for. And as a reminder, with all of our Lakeside chats, we would love for this to be interactive. So feel free to unmute yourself at any point. Right now, everybody's unmuted, but I'll start muting myself as soon as I stop talking. But feel free to unmute yourself, ask a question, raise a hand, do whatever, and even share some of your own problems that you've run into or issues or, stories that you've heard. But I'll let the three ladies, and I probably should have you, your names are on there, so I'm guessing everybody knows where you are, but I'll let you three ladies take it from here. And we really do appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight to talk to everybody about what we can be doing or should be doing.
Excellent. Well, first of all, thank you, Christina. As members of this fine community and also members of InfraGard, which is a public-private relationship with the FBI and private citizens and academia, we appreciate opportunities like this to share what we do for a living. And we consider it very important. As we all know, electronic connectivity, cyber shopping, healthcare online, finance online, just about anything that we do today, even if we want to abstain totally from the internet, we can't. Our information is out there. And, so I say jokingly at work, I'm about 10 years from going Amish, so I don't have to worry about the internet ever again. It's a challenging field that we're in, but we love to help people. So we appreciate these types of opportunities. So we can talk a little bit about what we're seeing, where we're seeing the bad people exploit. Unfortunately, there's a lot of exploitation happening with seniors in particular. I'm encroaching on that category right now myself. There's a lot of exploitation that's happening with developmentally disabled, for example. And sometimes just with people that are very trusting, which happens to be Americans by and large are a very trusting population. We learn that in kindergarten, right? To be nice to others and to trust and care. And when we're trusting and caring people, we become vulnerable. And what we're in the business of doing is, unfortunately, teaching people to be paranoid and not trusting. And that's what we do. We put our defenses up now very heavily. So willing to kind of talk to you about what we're seeing or field questions right off the bat. Maybe Christina, if you want to go around the group and just, have folks introduce themselves and maybe talk about something that they've seen or something that they're concerned with. And we would like this to be very interactive and very helpful.
Okay, no problem. Number one. So I will call on you. Don't feel like you have to. You're not under pressure or anything like that. But if you have something that you want to share or have a question already, then feel free. So I'll just go based on how everybody is in my windows here. And so the first person I see are Brenda and Town. Brenda.
That's because we're just down the street. Hi. Nice to see you all.
It is wonderful. Seriously, by the way, this is the best part about this is being able to see all of you. So hello, happy holidays, and I hope everybody is healthy and safe right now. So with that, Brenda and Mo, go ahead.
Say hello.
Say hello.
Hey, Mo.
Hi.
Do you have anything, when you decided to join us tonight, did you have any questions or anything?
No,
Just-
happily, we haven't, or if we have, we're so unconscious about it that we haven't recognized it. Only phone kinds of issues, that we just don't answer the phone if we don't recognize the number, which is a problem too with so many people working from home, because sometimes you miss the good calls.
Mhm.
And that phone thing is very popular. I've known a few people that get caught up in that as well. So that's hard.
And very important too today, you'll start to see more text messaging with links. Do not ever click on those, ever. They can really raise havoc with your systems. They can, by clicking on those links, sometimes you could download a small program that can basically be used to exfiltrate data from your phone and create some real bad things.
That's a good.
I think I've gotten text messages from 3 banks that I have no accounts at recently. So
Exactly.
I'm right there. That, and I believe I have about 4 different expiring car warranties. So
Oh, I
the
think
phone calls that I get,
I get a call a week club on expired warranties.
Oh my
Yes.
I think what's amazing, just as a comment, is I have had several key bank inquiries, and they do such a marvelous job cloning the entire key bank website that you really truly think you're a key bank. So rule of thumb, don't fill it out, log in your regular password, and go in the back door the regular way. But boy, they're good.
That is so spot on, Heidi. And it takes less than 5 minutes to clone a website. We could do it right now. I want to get prepared and then do it for you, but literally we could go to Bank of America right now. We could set up our own domain, Bank of America, .1 or something real simple. But close to Bank of America's, because a lot of people don't even look at what the actual domain is that we're going to. And I could replicate that exact website as it looks today. So spot on, Heidi. That happens very frequently. And what happens is if I replicate that banking website, as you type in your information, I'm capturing it as you're doing it. So now I go to the real website, I take what you've just entered and I re-enter it in your website. And we did one incident response for a CPA firm where they lost the tune of $70,000 out of one account and about $3,500 out of another. And they had a key fob with multi-factor authentication. I don't know if you guys use that at all, where you get
And everything.
your phone or you get a number on a little token and you enter that in, and they had that. And when we were investigating this scenario, we were like, okay, where is, how are you getting that one-time passcode, right? That one-time token. You got your name, right? That's who you are. You got something that which is your passcode, and then you have something that you have, which is that token. And so usually with that level of authentication, you're not going to get, you're not going to have your credentials stolen. Well, what was happening is, in this case, they had opened up a birthday card greeting and email. That opening that up downloaded a little piece of computer program that then was taking that information as they were typing it in and sending it off site. And so it was also sending off the token that they were typing in. And so as soon as that timing became within that parameter, right, within that 15 or 20 seconds, boom, the adversary was in that payroll account and started pulling that money out. So the same thing can happen, as Heidi mentioned, on those fake banking sites, right? So I'm the adversary, you're typing in that number into the fake bank account site. I'm pulling your username, your passcode, and now let's say you've got a one-time token too, and we all think that we're real safe. I'm doing that as well, right? So it's just a timing. And when we were talking and interviewing the victim, we said, well, what actually happened? She would have kept asking me for that number, and I thought that was a little weird, you know. So if things seem weird, they probably are. And just stop what you're doing and take a step back and start over. And as Heidi said, the best method is to go direct into those sites yourself. Don't do the links. Don't trust Amazon links. Don't do tracking packages, right? You're getting these things all the time. Just don't trust it. If you get a message in your email that says your Amazon package is on its way, click here and look at the tracking. Go and log into your Amazon account and take a look at it, right? And you'll have all the tracking there. Chances are a lot of that information that's being sent to you is what's called phishing, and they're just looking for you to take bite of that lure and get into your systems.
I'm getting them from FedEx, Amazon, just constant.
Well, it makes sense right now. They're going to take advantage of everybody shopping online.
'Tis the season.
Yep.
Voila. Scrooge is in the house.
Evie, you mentioned something in there about the Christmas card, the electronic Christmas card is how they originally received it.
Mm-hmm.
Birthday card, whatever it was.
Right.
Is there, you know, I'm sure the rule of thumb for most people we all know is to only open emails from people that you know and that you recognize. But people
That was the old rule.
okay.
The new rule is don't open up emails. And the reason for that
Would
is
we have a business without opening up our emails?
I know.
I think so.
Don't trust anything. Verify out of channel. So if you get something like, let's say, Christina, you were to get an email from me today, right? And we work together, so it's really, you know, it would be normal. And I sent you an attachment. My recommendation would be, you know, you've got my cell phone number, text me or call me out of channel. Don't email me and ask me if I sent you something, but call me and say, Debbie, did you really intend to send me this, you know, whatever?
Mhm.
And I'd say, yes, I did, or no, I didn't. One work source, which is our Department of Labor group over on the Oval, their systems got hacked not too long ago. And they were sending out emails. A couple of our attorney friends, a couple other folks got these emails in their email protection that we manage for them. And they thought they were legitimate, and they let them into their system, right? They released them from the filter that was holding them, saying, these are pretty suspicious. You might not want to click on them. They released them, and sure enough, they were malware.
Wow.
So in the way that happens is multiple ways can happen. But one is that, let's say I get the malware because I click on that card link, or I click on that, you know, that funny cartoon that does all these things. Well, when something does all those things on your computer, that's a program, right? So it can be a cute program, or it can be a cute program with malicious characteristics as well. And those malicious characteristics can do any number of things. One of those things is it can exfiltrate all your contact data, right? So you know, people are gathering information. There is value in information, and we see that in what China's trying to collect globally, right? They when I spoke to Congresswoman Stefanik probably a year and a half ago, you know, she's on our you know, one of the cyber committees, and she was talking about you know, China wants to become a superpower, right? The superpower of the globe, which that's no secret. But one of the methods that they're going about it is to gather as much data as they can. And so they'll take data from anywhere at any time and use it against us. And one of the ways is to take our contacts and start to send emails out to people that we know to make them think that there's that trusted relationship, and then they click on something and now they've got malware on their computer that's doing funky stuff. One other thing, and there was an article in New York Times that was really interesting, and it talked about farmers that, had the FBI knocking on their door one day, elderly farm couple, salt of the earth kind of people, probably very much like what a lot of our neighbors are in our communities. And, to have the FBI come in, they're like, well, what are you doing here? Well, they had a bot farm in their computer and they never knew it. So, they somewhere along the line got malware, and that malware created a situation where in many cases our systems will block, like Heidi's system for her office may block attachment from China or Russia or other countries. The adversaries now are getting so smart that they're infecting local computers on our own homeland and are attacking us from within our country. So when we don't practice good cyber hygiene, we may not be hurting ourselves directly, but our systems may be empowered to create harm to our country in other ways. So we just need to be, as I said, I'm a Debbie Downer at times. We need not to trust people. We need to not trust the email that we're getting. We need to be cautious. For instance, one of the incidents that we responded to last year, actually close to this time frame, a couple weeks later, more closely to Christmas, was an organization that the individual, it was after her work day and she needed a recipe, and she used the work computer to get a recipe. And while she was on that, she got an alert that she needed to call this 800 number because she needed support from the help desk right away. And she called them, and they had her go to a certain website, and they took over her computer at that point, right? So I could have you as a good person, I could have you go to a website, and through that website, I can link into your system because you're allowing me in there, right? So this individual ended up with malware and infected the entire organization. And she was just trying to get a recipe for a holiday meal that she was preparing that night. So people doing very normal, genuine, kind-hearted things are victims, and it's an unfortunate reality, but just teaches us to be very safe and not trust.
Yeah.
One of the it starts with a crank phone call, and I don't know, those of you who are running a Windows operating system, how it'll used to freeze up a lot more, and they'll say, your computer is freezing up, we can help you, click here, and they'll actually on the telephone. I've played along with them just to see what they'll do, because I've actually had a client who was a victim. I said, okay, are you at your computer? And they'll tell you to go here, go here, go here. And you're allowing them into your computer, and they'll download this malware and steal everything on your computer. And they not only are blatant, they called me 3 times in 2 days. Because they must have robodial. Anybody who picks up the phone, call back.
Yep.
And it's just amazing how malicious they are and persistent.
Yep, exactly.
Right. And then what happens with that information? So a lot of times people will gather the information, and then there's brokerage. It's called the dark web, and they may take all the data. Like, let's say that they broke into a CPA firm, or they broke into a financial planner's firm, or not that that's going to happen, but let's say that they did, just for runs and giggles, and they got a terabyte of data. So what happens is they'll go out and they'll say on the dark web, they'll say, I've got a terabyte of CPA data, and they'll sell that. It's not been monetized at this point, but people will buy it on the potential of monetization of that data. And then, so there'll be a broker, they'll sell it, and then people start to buy, records and different types of information on that. I spoke with somebody who's the head of emergency services for a local county today, and he ended up getting a bill from the hospital locally for $1.24 on his credit card. And he said, I had no idea, and it wasn't legitimately from CVPH. He called. Most likely that was an adversary that was testing that card to make sure, because now they can make more because it's a validated good card. So they can make more on the dark web by reselling that because it's a more, if you will, likely positive asset.
All right, I'm going to, I put a note down because I want to go back to two of the things that you mentioned, but in following your original request and going through everybody, the next person I see I feel like we're in Hollywood Squares. Does anybody remember that show?
Yeah, you have to point like this.
Yeah. So Linda, you are up. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing really good. I was glad you mentioned about the Amazon tracking. I've been buying Christmas presents for my grandson, and I've been getting all these tracking emails, and I've been clicking on them. So now I'll know not to.
Oh, now she's nervous.
Thank you very much. But I had a friend that, had a similar problem with, having somebody get into their account and everything. So I've been good about that, but the tracking, not so good. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
And what about the texting updates instead? They'll text your phone number. Isn't that a lot easier, a lot cleaner?
As long as they're texting it and it's not a link, I wouldn't click on anything that's a link in text.
No, it's just a reminder. It's going to be delivered soon, whatever. So I always find it for text and not for email.
Yep.
So because it's
I've gotten that
if you're on a rate plan that doesn't include texting, many business people, I think Heidi, have the rate plans that unlimited text. Some of the more residential use phones charge per text. So just be careful of that because that can get pretty expensive if you're getting charged by text.
More expensive to have cybercrime.
Yeah.
I look at it as a cheap price to pay.
Yep. No, absolutely agree. Just something.
Now, FedEx will also do a text too. So I shouldn't click on that at all. The text from FedEx, say. Right?
I don't recommend clicking on links.
Okay.
Yeah, I recommend going to the source and getting that information as much as possible.
Okay.
Now,
so the best way to do that, so if you get a text message that says, hey, here's an update on your package, if you know what package they're talking about, or if you don't, but it's FedEx, you can go to FedEx and directly from your browser and then put in your tracking code. Okay. And then that way, if it is a malicious link, you'll sort of avoid that.
Okay. And you're not falling prey.
Yeah, it's the convenience of the click is the problem.
I know. And
we don't want to take the time. Oh God, I have to do that too. And what's my password?
Security slows us down. There's no doubt about it. And there's a book out there written by, I think it's the CISO of a major technology company called Fortinet, and he calls it the digital Big Bang, and it is. We've got this masses of data and mass of risk associated with the internet, which is an amazing tool that we all have, but with it comes things that we need to be worried about.
So true. All right. Oh, Brenda. Oh, hold on one second. Let's see.
You're muted, Brenda. You're on mute.
Just holler out your window. I'll hear you.
Yeah.
Unmuted. Wait, where is it? Mute.
You're all set. You're good. Oh, nope. Go back.
Okay.
Yep, now you're good.
So I have a friend who sends me things by text, art things and that sort of thing. How can I undo what's happened then in the last couple of months?
Well, if you delete them, you'll be okay. Generally it's hard to tell. There's some things that, you know, even cyber experts or mobile experts have challenges figuring out. I'll be very honest with you with that. I would, you know, try to delete things that you are concerned about, maybe be suspicious. But, you know, there's certain things, like, for instance, you know, Alyssa's doing some house plan hunting, and she's my daughter, and, you know, she'll say, Mom, I want to send you something to take a look at. Well, if I know that that's legitimate, she's told me on the phone, expect this, I'm going to click on it. You know, I'm not going to lie to you and say I never click on anything, because I'd be.
Because if she doesn't, I'll call her and yell at her and say, hey,
We ignoring
what's
me?
going on?
So, you know, so if you get something, you know, if you call somebody and say, geez, did you just send me this? And they say, absolutely, I did. And, you know, if they're sharing out something that was funny, that's perpetuated, whatever the word is, going through the Facebook or going through whatever, you know, you don't necessarily want to be clicking on things like that. The funnies, the what do they come? Is it Jiffies or Giffies, Alyssa? You know, some of those.
I'm just going to let you keep saying it.
What is it? I always ask that. What is it?
GIF? GIF.
So,
Okay, go for either. GIF.
So one of the other things somebody had mentioned, you know, only opening things from people you know. So an incident that happened close to me and my family was an opened email. Her name is Deb at an email address, and it came through to him as Deborah at that email address. So to him, he didn't think twice about it. He clicked it. Yep, it's from her. Even though in his head, he knew it was her email should be deb@said.com. And they had just taken her name and made it a little bit longer, and he didn't even think about it, clicked on it. And
You know, one of the best tips that I learned, because we have to do lots of cyber training, is hold your mouse over the email address and make sure it's a match game. And you'll see a lot of times when you hover your mouse over the address, it's not the same. And that's your first clue that it's a hijacked email.
That's absolutely correct. Absolutely perfect.
We have to be vigilant. So the next Halloween Square box is titled Tonight, but I don't see anybody there. So if somebody's there listening and they want to do a wave, no? Okay. All right. So the next one is Howard. Hi, Howard.
Hi.
How are you?
Okay, fine. The sound that I'm getting is kind of broken up, so I'm kind of mentally patching the words together. So I think I'm getting the gist of what you're saying here, but it's far from perfect.
Okay.
But, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Do you have any questions? Howard, do you have any questions?
No, not right now. No.
Okay. All
No.
right.
No.
Thanks for joining us, though.
And Howard, I'm not sure who your service provider is, but we can help you do some speed test and diagnostics. You may just have some troubling bandwidth problems wherever you're at.
Might be.
Yeah, feel free to give us a call. Lisa will help you out, or Audra.
That's
On the
great.
house.
Okay.
Hey, that's so
On the house.
How are you doing? Hi, Jean.
I
How are you doing?
just found out I've got shingles, so I've been better.
Oh,
But,
I've been there before. It is not a fun journey.
no, it isn't. Oh.
I'm so
Feel for
sorry.
you.
No.
You just have to be so suspicious of everything. You don't know what to trust.
Really?
You read stories in newspaper, and before you really aware of it, it wasn't a story at all. It was an advertisement.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of those phone calls with says Spectrum on it, and then it's not. And it's just makes you suspicious of everything.
I think that's what Deb said at the beginning. We just have to learn to be paranoid, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I'm a big one on screening calls. My aunt, who's now, her aunt, sorry, who's 89, you know, all the family members know that if they get her answering machine, you just wait for her message, which is her son. It's not her, right? And he recorded the message, and then you just stay on and you say, Aunt Marion, it's Dev, and then she'll pick up the phone, right? So I find that, the things that are happening with the elderly, and actually Scott Beebe, when he was at the city police, he was a big proponent of helping out folks that have been victimized with the different senior scams that are happening. And one such was tried on my father-in-law, who lives 2 doors down, who's kind of midway between Brenda and Mo and us, and Heidi's on the other side. So, but I went over one day and he was so proud, and he said, this person called and it was Ashton, and Ashton is Alyssa's brother, my son. And he was in distress and he needed money. And so, don't let mom know, because she'll be really mad. Don't let dad know, he'll be really mad, but I need some money. Can you wire it to me right away? And so it doesn't matter whether it's over the phone or over the internet or over your mobile device or in the mail. There's just all kinds of scams going on. My husband and I are getting the AARP things. We're getting the Medicare things. And gosh, when you read some of them, they're just fraudulent, and I really do feel that, we need to help protect each other, and we need to have folks that are looking out for our best interest. And that's each other that you can trust. So if you've got a family member that maybe is out of a different demographic, I mean, even my daughter, she'll tell me at times, Mom, did you realize on Facebook you just spread fake news? And I'm like, oh shoot, and I'll go in and I'll delete it. I'm like, I'm in this business. I'm highly credentialed in cybersecurity. I'm paranoid beyond belief, and I still do stupid stuff. So we just need to be really careful and help out each other, and try to lean on people that we can trust to not, to help to steer us in the right direction, I guess.
And I think one of the things that you just pointed out was important, that, you're getting all that information from AARP. People are getting stuff from Social Security and Medicare and everything. And one of the things I just talked to my mother about this weekend is it's .gov. She was saying, yeah, I went to something, Medicare.com. And I'm like, no. I said it's .gov, because people don't, and .edu if you're trying to find the school, or there's certain things though that we just take for granted that everything is .com.
Yeah, and it looks legitimate. I mean, some of the things, we did a lot of the work for my dad up until he passed last year, and we'd get all of his mail, and I'd look at it and be like, holy moly, this just looks really legitimate. There was some mail that looked exactly like the IRS, their same font and everything, and it wasn't legitimate. And I'm sure you guys see that a lot at Clute Financial Services too, because it's just really genuine looking.
One of the best tips somebody taught me years ago was, just because the telephone rings doesn't mean you have to answer it. And if you can screen them from the telephone, then you won't get those hackers that are trying to talk you into downloading a fix to your computer that's always mucked up.
Yeah.
Now there are some, computer security. There are some free software. Normally, when something's free, it means you're the product, right? So normally, when people offer you things that are free, they're capturing your information. For example, the free Zoom will capture phone numbers and email addresses, and they'll say in their privacy statement that they reserve the right to resell it or whatever. If you buy the paid subscription, they have a different privacy statement. So you've always got to be careful when you use something that's free, because nothing's for free. We've learned that. However, Sophos is a group that we're a partner with, and they have Sophos Home Edition that is free. You can buy an upgrade and get technical support from them, which is pretty good. But if you have some of the run-of-the-mill software on your desktop, you can use this software, and Alyssa can send that link off to you at Christina, if you want to share it with everybody. You'll know it's a trusted link because you're expecting it.
Are they allowed to click on the link?
We'll make sure we send you a legitimate one. But yeah, make sure your systems are all updated with software that can support it. You can buy software. There's a group called Sentinel One, and again, you can buy subscriptions for that, which is you're likely going to get a better, more current version. And like Heidi mentioned earlier, it's worth the amount that you're going to spend. If it's $49 a year, $149 a year. Good security is not free. It can be affordable, but it's not going to be free. But it's important. You'll be surprised what scans will come up with things that are on your computer that you may not even know are there, that are dangerous.
All right, next we have Juanita. Oh, Adam, I'm sorry, Juanita, hold on one second. I see Adam waving.
You just mentioned something that jogged my memory. My parents have sort of an antique laptop that they use from time to time. Every time you may open an old computer, I know it usually pops up with lots of updates, system updates, security updates, those sort of things. It can't be good not to download those updates, even if you have an older computer. Your computer may not be able to handle it, but that's your computer trying to keep you safe, correct?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So, adversaries know very well what our habits are. They know very well what software prompts us to do, and they know very well what we're likely to do. So those computer toasters or pop-ups or whatever you want to call them can also be malware. So again, the best thing to do if I'm a Microsoft user, or if I'm an Apple user, or whatever, or I'm an Adobe user, is to go to those websites and update my software directly from there. As a matter of fact, in the case of the services that we provide for our clients, a lot of times we'll do those updates as part of a script, and it comes up so it looks distinctly different than to fly in, click here to do your updates.
Sure.
But yeah, you want to keep your computer updated, but again, going to the source to verify the legitimacy of that update is recommended.
I feel like Adam was going to do an "I told you so" to his parents, and now he really can't do that. I told you to update those. All right, Juanita, did you have a question? And hi, good to see you too.
Hello, good to see you. Not really a question for myself, just more of a curiosity thing. So when these bad actors or adversaries get into institutions such as hospitals and stuff through the computer system, and they hold up accounts or whatever for ransom, I guess, how does that actually work? How are they able to pull that off? I'm assuming it starts out as malware through an unsuspecting employee or something.
Right. So most times, and I was on the call this morning, actually, we're doing a webinar tomorrow with InfraGard, which you're all invited to attend. The FBI will be on from our field office in Albany. And most of the time, the way ransomware comes in is through phishing. That's what we're seeing today. When we're responding to different incidents in our communities. So what'll happen is, somebody will get an email. Again, if it wasn't filtered out as suspicious by filters, I'm going to show you a filter report that I have to give you an idea on what these systems do. But if it's not filtered out and it's sent into the end user, and the end user doesn't verify the integrity or the legitimacy of that email, and they click on it, they unknowingly, many times, nobody knows that they click on it. In a recent Verizon DBI report, I think the average was like 80 months to realize that you've got you've downloaded malware. So, and today the sophistication of the programs, if you remember back in the 80s when computers were just coming out and we'd get malware, when you had a virus, your cursor would literally across your screen, or the computer wouldn't work at all. Now the programs are so sophisticated that they work under in a stealth-like mode, and you never know that you have it. So let's say that somebody downloads, they click on a link, and that clicking on that link creates what's called an executable, which is it's a program, right? That's all malware is it's awful programming that's been done to do horrible things. And when it downloads on the end user's computer, what it does is it connects with a command and control computer, and it's called a C2 computer. So let's say that the adversary is in Russia or China. So now I've got this little payload of malware on my computer, and I don't even know that it's there because my computer is operating the same. Meanwhile, it goes and it connects to the master server in whatever country is trying to get into my stuff. And now that command and control server starts to take over in the system, right? And it gets into that pinhole prick within the organization's fiber. And now it looks for data. Where's data normally reside? It's normally on servers, right? So it's going to look for the mapping to servers within that organization's network. And a server literally is a workstation on steroids. It's your laptop on steroids, right? It can hold a lot of data, it can do a lot of processing, it can do a lot of stuff. So it's looking for that gold mine of information. And when it finds it, it runs an encryption code, an encryption algorithm, and it encrypts all the data. And once that data is encrypted, the organization then gets this notice that your information's all been encrypted. What the adversaries are doing now today is they're encrypting all the workstations too. So in one case with a manufacturer in Vermont, they had 350 workstations encrypted. The only thing that saved their bacon is they used a server that wasn't Windows for the majority of their delicate information. But in the case of like the hospital, which is public knowledge.
That's where my question was going earlier.
Yeah, that was ransomware that came in. It encrypted data. We weren't responders to it. So if we were responders, I couldn't share anything with you anyway. I'm not a responder there, so I can't share anything because I don't know all the details. But it certainly was just in knowledge of what happened. It's thought to be phishing. It's thought to be somebody clicked on something. Ideally, that bad decision wouldn't even have been presented to the end user to make such a decision, but it was. But ransomware is tough. And now that the U.S. Treasury actually is stating that nobody should pay a ransom, right? Because not only are they getting our data, because if they're in there to encrypt our data, they're also in there to be able to exfiltrate the data. Do you think any crooked person is going to get in, encrypt your data and not steal it at the same time? Unlikely. So they're getting a double good thing if they're getting, if they're getting you to pay the $500,000 ransom or the $50,000 ransom or whatever that is, plus they're getting all your data to sell on the dark web.
There was a furniture store I got notification on in Vermont that were subject to malware, and they paid the ransom.
They did.
If your computers are encrypted, can they encrypt on top of your encryption? Because we encrypt all. They can. Wow.
They can encrypt. So what we do now, and usually, at least what we've seen, and fortunately, and I'm going to knock on wood, we've not had clients that have had ransomware. The incidents that we've responded to typically happen on Fridays or right before a holiday. A 911 center that we responded to in a different state happened the day before Labor Day, and we worked that entire week to restore them. In that particular case, you know, what folks tend to try to do is they know when our holidays are and they know when we're not paying attention, or they know when we're in a rush. It's a very well planned out and executed attack on our assets. So take the gal that, you know, the just before Christmas, right? Going to a recipe site, you know, clicking on that recipe and then downloading, you know, malware. It's they know when we're busy and not paying attention, I guess is my point.
But
So
should
even
there-
at home?
Sorry, there must be industrial standards for institutions such as this, that banking industries, I mean,
You better.
aren't there standards for
Absolutely
protecting their systems?
Yes. So I am a roadie. That's what I tell them. There's a group called the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And you know, I follow them the way some people followed Mick Jagger back in the 80s. So they're just a really good group. They're funded by our government. They're funded by Department of Commerce. And they years ago realized that we needed guidance as a country. We've had a huge economic and financial impact and national security impact because of the theft that's happened to the gracious Americans that we all are. Interesting. And so they put forth the cybersecurity framework well over a decade ago, I think now. They offer it for free. They've updated that. I think we're on version 3 right now. I might be wrong. But that, by and large, if we follow that guidance as a country, we'll be in very good shape. There gets to be more stringent standards. For example, I know, you know, financial organizations in New York State have to follow the New York State DFS regulations, which is Department of Financial Services.
Yep.
Don't mess that up with people that don't know. Their standards and requirements are a little bit more stringent than that of just the cybersecurity framework, but it ties into a lot of those controls and elements. And controls that are in there are things like password complexity, using multi-factor authentication, using encryption for your data. You
have to change out every 90 days. There's all kinds of things. But
Yep.
And Juanita, just to put you at ease, not only do we work with Twinstate for our computer safety, but we also have another company that we work with for an added layer on top of our broker dealer. So there are a lot of things that we have in place to protect, because we know that people would be very interested in being able to get that information. So we take cybersecurity very, very seriously here, and we are all trained on it quarterly. We have training on it.
And they
That's great.
actually have to do a penetration test to try to break into our systems. And they let us know that our systems were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that they don't
Awesome.
use companies that have that high level of security, because we proactively work at it.
And thank you for giving us that opportunity to say that.
No, you know, what I say in our business, right? We have to live by we have to survive by selling things, right? We're not a government organization that gets things, although that would be great if we did, but we have to sell things to make things happen. However, when we look at when people buy cybersecurity, it's typically one of 3 things. One is they had an incident. One is they have to because they're a regulated industry. And the third, which is the less common, is their early adopter. And I can tell you right now, the Clute team did it before it was regulated. So kudos to you guys for being ahead of the government saying you have to do this. And there's very few people in our communities, unfortunately, that are taking that tactic to be early adopters. They are a lot of times waiting for something bad to happen, which in the case of the CPA firm, and it was $125,000 for them to recover from a recent incident. There was another group. Oh, the other thing that happens a lot is the CEO scams, and those don't happen so much in residential scenarios, but they happen a lot, and they happen to a group where somebody got an email from the CEO that said, I need a wire transfer right away. I've got this big deal that we're about to close. And the accounts payable person, who just wanted to do the right thing, right? She was the victim, as was the company. She did a wire transfer, and it was $400,000. So in the matter of,
Whoopsie.
Pardon?
Whoopsie.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, the FBI was able to get back all of it, but 45,000. And there's a kill chain. When things like that happen, you need to act right away. That's why we have, cell phone numbers. There's an organization called IC3, which we can provide you that link as well. That's ic3.gov, I think, unless I'm not positive if I'm giving out accurate information. But it's a fantastic website. You report these types of things that happen, even if you're not sure if they're bad, report them quickly, because they can stop the money from going overseas if it's within 72 hours, because some of the checks and balances that now we have in our financial systems.
Amazing. John, I haven't given you an opportunity yet to say anything or ask
Yes, I
any
would.
questions. How are you doing?
Good.
Hey,
First,
John.
thank you for doing this. Is very, very interesting. I have a quick question on backing up your computer. Usually when you do backups, it's going to be document files, pictures, music, stuff like that. And a virus or an executable is going to stay buried in your computer, I believe. Is there any danger in backup, or what is there to do to protect yourself when you're backing up data?
Yeah, that's a really loaded question. I always recommend backups. So even if you have a virus, that's a tough one, because you really want to clean your data before you back it up, and you don't always know when you've got bad executables. So that's a tough one. If I knew we had bad executables, I wouldn't back them up. I would clean it and then back it up from there.
Theoretically,
you don't know that you have bad data or executables that are malicious on your data set. I would back it up. I wouldn't know not to, right?
So the virus can attach itself to music files, to document files.
You can have bad data in a picture, not even attached to it, but in the pixels of a picture. Not to get into that, but there's amazing technology out there today that is just evil. So I think the best thing you can do is get a good antivirus. Again, SentinelOne. Alyssa, does SentinelOne have a home version? Can you check, or Audra?
Check.
We have recently, and as Heidi and Christina have spoken about, we continually go through what we call our security stack, and we have layers of security within that stack. We have 5 different elements within our endpoint spectrum protection, which is our endpoint delivery, if you will, of security that that we also use with the team on the call. In that, we have changed out 3 elements within the 5 within the last, let's see, COVID years, 8 months. Had to count. And the reason for that is, for example, Sophos was one of our partners before. We've changed that out, right? They're good for the home version. It's a legitimate free. You can find other free antivirus. We did one engagement with a CPA firm that was using free antivirus, and when we looked at it, it was antivirus that was manufactured or published, I should say, by the Chinese. So you know that it wasn't good, right? So you want to make sure if you're doing a free version, you're doing it from a reputable group. But if you do happen to go out, and we'll find some software that we believe to be most current, most effective today, and we'll get this to this team. And my recommendation would be, spend the whatever it is, obviously not thousands of dollars, but you shouldn't have to for a home computer, and get a good software. And when you download that good software, make sure that you're doing automated updates. And then also, you'll have an option typically of doing a full scan of your system. So you're going to want to do a full scan of your system, and that should really flush out if you've got some bad stuff on your computer. And then if you've got the option of doing a scan once a week, once a day, or a continuous scan, do a continuous scan. If your computer can't hack it, get a new computer.
Funny choice of words.
Yeah.
So the commercial products are relatively effective.
Yes,
If you're scanning your computer 2 or 3 times a day, every day, then you're doing about as much as you can to stop
Right.
this.
And I always recommend continuous scan. So basically it's constantly checking. It's checking coming in, it's checking coming out. It's just basically looking at your data all the time to try to make sure that it's legitimate. Now, no, even when you do that, it's not 100%, because what also the labs have been very good at doing, and I'm going to show you a few pictures here.
Just let you share your screen.
Not yet. Not yet. But what they're good about doing is mimicking, again, legitimate software. So now for the some of the antivirus solutions out there are using what's called machine learning and artificial intelligence. And that takes it yet to another level. And that's what we've introduced. And that's why we've got multiple layers now, is we're looking at, we're utilizing artificial intelligence and machine learning in many of the services we provide. Those aren't necessarily services that a home user can afford, but a business can't afford not to have them, right? So it's, again, that's why we do what we do, because we're constantly vetting to make sure that things are as effective as they can, and we put them in our own sandbox and put them through the paces and see what really looks to be the most effective. And there is no such thing as 100%, unfortunately.
Are there malwares that will scan your computer? Is there like a separate software you should use outside of your regular malware software that'll scan your computer for viruses that are already on there that might have gotten through the malware?
Yeah, there's a product. Multiple people in multiple organizations have different types. Sophos has one. I think it's still an accurate name, Sophos Clean.
Because we used to run a cleaner years ago before we stepped it up.
Yep.
And I think there was a computer cleaner too that ended up getting infected. So then that was an issue. So I believe that Sophos Home actually, I think the cleaner is embedded in that now.
Okay, it is right in the,
That's what I use on my MacBook when I use it.
okay.
So
Great.
that I actually, I have it on my cell phone too. That I can use to check my phone. It usually yells at me when my operating system is out of date, and keeping your systems up to date. So if you get an alert that your phone needs to be updated or your computer needs to be updated, you definitely want to do that, because what they do when they do operating system updates is they find vulnerabilities that hackers have found, and they know how to easily exploit, and they apply patches to them to fix that hole so that hackers can't get into those easily. So that's something we usually get those reminders, so that's nice. For some reason, some people put them off. I'm not blaming anyone or naming any names, Mom. But that's definitely one thing that you can do.
Would you be able to provide us with that information for people for their cell phones that we should be using?
Yeah, especially cell phones, either Android or Apple. What kind of software should people be using as antivirus? Because they go with it, right? Most phones?
Sure. Sort of.
To download the updates?
Yep. So those will come through, and it'll give you that alert, like there's a new update. You need to update your phone. Please make sure your phone's plugged into power tonight, so that, and then you'll have to approve the update. So those are usually
software updates.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So those will include the patches. But the same thing goes for all of your applications that you have on your phone too. So Facebook, and they'll do updates on their own applications as well. So it's good to keep an eye on those. If you look at your app store and it has like 14 notifications that you need to update your apps, you want to update those individually as well. It's kind of cumbersome, but.
So we are at the 6:30 mark, and I just want to check in to make sure that Debbie, Alyssa, and Audra, are you okay with continuing on for a little bit longer? I know, Debbie, you mentioned sharing your screen to show us something, and then everybody, obviously, you have, we would love for you to stay, but I understand we don't want to take too much of your time. So
if everybody's got a couple more minutes, I can show you a few things, and we're having fun.
Yeah.
And I'm having leftover beef stew, so.
My husband's making dinner, so it's perfect. It'll be all ready. All right, so I'm going to share the screen, or let you share your screen. So I made you a co-host.
All righty.
And I'm going to mute myself here.
I'm going to share the screen. Let me know when you see it. Share.
Got it.
Okay, and you see planes?
Mm-hmm.
Or a child?
Planes.
Planes.
Okay. So probably everyone's pretty familiar with the F-35. We happen to have it across the pond. It's one of the, the most sophisticated fighter jets of all time. And below it is the J-31. The F-35 is U.S. Innovation and manufacture, and below is Chinese espionage and copy. So this happened several years ago. It became aware to our country, and that is one of the reasons that you'll find a lot more regulation has happened within our Department of Defense supply chain. 70%, it's estimated, of the F-35 is manufactured by subcontractors, the vast majority of which are small, medium shops, and many of them did not have appropriate levels of cybersecurity. Our government has stepped it up, and now it is a requirement that everybody in the supply chain that handles information that's considered to be controlled unclassified information, which say the lens of a DoD satellite, the grommet used in an F-35, right? Anything that rolls up into these particular elements in our Department of Defense has to comply with NIST standards, or NIST recommendations, I should say. They'll say they don't have security standards, they have security recommendations. And so from a Department of Defense perspective, I need to, give kudos out to NIST. As I said, I'm a roadie of theirs and a big believer in what they do for our country. Many of you may be familiar with a term called ISO, the International Standards Organization of Britain. They also have standards and recommendations, but they charge for everything. And the nice thing I like about NIST is they say, hey, you want to learn it, you want to apply it, you want tools to be able to be more secure, just go to their website. It's all there. It's all free for the world to use. It's readily available. Let's see, what's the other one I wanted to show you? So can you still see my screen?
Mhm.
So I mentioned a little bit about labs in our countries that are not, obviously not our allies in some ways, or the ones that maybe are allies but still want to steal our data. This is a picture of a Chinese hacker lab, and our cyber training. For instance, Plattsburgh State has a phenomenal cybersecurity program. We're proud to be part of that. We've hired folks from it. We've trained, we've done internships, we've given them technology. We are very, very happy to have them here in our community, Norwich University, Champlain College. Our educational institutions teach us how to be safe. They don't teach students how to hack in and steal. In communities, in countries, I should say, Russia, China, and we know this from our contacts at the FBI, their colleges actually teach people how to impersonate, how to steal, and how to derive value for their countries from things that we have in the USA. So it's I wanted to share those couple of pictures with you. I have one other. When we look at things that are coming into our client's environment, this is our environment. I'm not showing client data, I'm showing Twinstate data. So what this shows is for this particular month, we get about 1,659 emails inbound a day. So 12,426 for this particular month. We rejected about 50% of it. So the system says, 50% of this stuff is garbage. 4 that came in had malware that was detected. 1,800 of our outbound messages are on average 350 on a weekday. 0% of our outbound messages were rejected, which means we're sending out clean stuff, right? So we were forwarding on malware. This filter would recognize that. Sorry, that's for a presentation tomorrow. So let's see. Of the emails that came in, so we'll say roughly 6,000 were allowed through. 260 had attachments that were sandboxed, and in the technology that we use in the business world, the sandboxing means that we're not delivering it to the client's site or to the client's in device if they're at home. We're keeping it in the cloud. So if they say, I think it's legitimate in the business world, again, not residential typically, but it will be coming soon. The sandboxing allows the execution of that in a system away from my system. So if it is malicious, it's detected as malicious, and the system won't allow it to come through unless you specifically say allow it through, which generally don't do that because almost all the time it is bad. So this is an interesting one. So of the 12,000, 6,000 got through, 377 were expected to be detection of impersonation. So again, that CEO scam, Heidi saying she's Heidi from, their domain.com, but actually it was a spoof domain or a malicious domain, it's going to recognize that that's an impersonation of Heidi and not let it come through to me. So I just thought you might enjoy some of this to get a sense of how much garbage is coming in. Residential users, I believe the last study I read was a greater percentage than 50% of what you are getting thrown at you is malicious in nature. So just something to think about.
It's a large number.
Yep.
That is insane.
So
So do we have any other comments or any last minute questions? Everybody's scared tonight, thinking that, you know, don't open the laptop, don't turn on the phone.
again, it's a weird position to be where we're always, you know, grow up wanting to trust people and teach people not to be afraid of things. But our job is really to increase your paranoia to a healthy level, not to abstain from the internet. It's a, you know, it brings a lot of good things to life, but we just have to be cautious. We will get you some links. Again, you know, we work more in the business sector, but I think that it's good for us to be able to look for some things that are, you know, good, safe tools that you can use in your homes. And if you've ever got a question, you know, we're willing to answer it.
Now I see George, I see you now. So do you have a question or anything that we can help you with? I think you kind of missed it where we went round robin and just talked about some of the things that we've noticed or any questions that we might have for Debbie, Alyssa, and Audra. Do you have anything for us tonight or them tonight?
No, enjoyed it very much. I have no clue why it says tonight under my picture. I have no idea how that got there. Must have some malware that's
You can right click it.
impersonating me. But,
Tomorrow, I'll say tomorrow.
okay.
That's funny.
Most of the things you talked about, we recognize. We've seen the key banks and Citizens Bank. I just got one from them recently. I got the false tracking information. Next subject, maybe you can talk about this whole thing about routers and firewalls and that kind of stuff and how they're supposed to provide protection, because I don't get that. But
Be happy to do that. That would be fun. I geek out on
Routers
stuff
and
like that.
firewalls. All right. That is a great suggestion.
Now, I just have a polling question. What do you guys use for email?
Gmail.
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 Bygate, Gmail.
We use Outlook through our broker dealer.
What about you, Brenda and Linda? Did you say
Gmail.
Gmail?
Email.
Brenda, you're muted.
The TV on Charter. We use Charter.
Okay, all right. Those all are fairly progressive in their approach to filtering. So I'm glad to hear that. West Telecom still has email out there. They're a great company, but their platform's dated a bit. And I think PrimeLink is shutting theirs down. So I'm glad if you know folks that are on some of those older platforms, getting onto Gmail or some of the others is suggested for sure. So good to hear.
Sorry, go ahead. No. Okay. What about this? I think somebody mentioned Charter, Brenda, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I believe Charters, you know, for a while they were lagging. I believe with the competition and all the bad things that are happening, they ramped it up a bit. Yeah.
So when we get emails from other people, then they've added on these cutesy little things. That's bad stuff coming in. If we continue to get their emails, but tell them don't send me any more of that, is something hidden in their email still?
Not necessarily. And you know, some of the cutesy stuff isn't bad, but you don't know, right? So You know, if something says click here to watch the dancing bears or to watch the fireworks or whatever, yeah, no. I would just say, geez, I bet that's really pretty. Let it go.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Debbie, Audra, and Melissa for
Oh,
all.
hi, buddy. Hi, Jeffrey. How are you?
She is adorable.
Oh, yes.
So cute.
Oh, where?
We had Twinstate Thanksgiving on Wednesday, and we invited families to join via Zoom kind of thing, and it was fun to see all the kids. We'll do that for Christmas too, Audra, and I think we'll have the kids update us on their school.
Yeah. It's approaching bedtime. He knew I was here. I'm at my home office. And I was like, I should have gone to my parents because he knew.
It's so cute.
Thank you.
All right.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This was wonderful, Debbie and Alyssa
Great.
and whomever.
Thank you.
Thank you
Very
very much.
informative.
Bye.